Okay, thank you.
Sir, can we start recording, sir?
Akila ma'am, shall we start at 6:05? 2 minutes more.
Okay, ma'am.
I think we can start the meeting.
Yeah. Akila ma'am. Akila? Yeah, so
Yes, ma'am, I've started. Sir, shall we start, sir?
No, we can start.
All of you for this webinar on AI ethics and AI fairness assessment frameworks by Dr. Geetha Raju ma'am, Senior AI Consultant, ANML Government Tech, Waterhouse Coopers by India. I welcome you, ma'am, and I welcome all the participants. Now I request HR Mohan sir, Vijay sir, to welcome the gathering.
Thank you. Dr. Geetha Raju, Mr. HR Mohan, Dr. K. Komathy, Dr. P. Sakthivel, participants, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. A very warm welcome to all of you to today's webinar on AI ethics and AI fairness assessment frameworks, featuring Dr. Geetha Raju, a distinguished senior AI consultant specializing in AI ML government tech at PricewaterhouseCoopers, India. In an era where artificial intelligence is increasingly shaping our world, it is paramount that we discuss and understand the ethical implications and fairness considerations associated with its deployment. Today's webinar provides us with a unique opportunity to delve into these crucial topics and gain insights from a seasoned expert in the field. Dr. Geetha Raju's wealth of experience and expertise in AI ethics and fairness assessment frameworks make her an invaluable resource for all of us gathered here today. Her work at PwC India has not only contributed significantly to the advancement of AI technologies, but has also emphasized the importance of ethical AI practices in ensuring a fair and inclusive future. Throughout the webinar, Dr. Raju will guide us through the complexities of AI ethics, shedding light on the ethical dilemmas that arise in AI development and deployment. Furthermore, she will provide invaluable insights into the frameworks and methodologies for assessing the fairness of AI systems, crucial steps towards building responsible AI solutions. As we navigate the evolving landscape of artificial intelligence, it is imperative that we do so with a keen awareness of the ethical considerations and a commitment to fairness and equity. I am confident that today's webinar will equip us with the knowledge and understanding necessary to navigate these challenges responsibly. I encourage all participants to actively engage in the discussion, ask questions, and share insights. Together, let us strive towards harnessing the transformative power of AI while upholding the highest ethical standards and ensuring fairness for all. Once again, a warm welcome to Dr. Geetha Raju and to all our esteemed participants. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you an enlightening and fruitful webinar ahead. This event has been organized by Mr. H.R. Mohan, Chairman, Information Technology Committee of Hindustan Chamber, in association with IEEE Computer Society, Madras, ACM Chennai, chaired by Dr. P. Sakthivel, and CSI Chennai, chaired by Dr. A. Komathy. Once again, I extend my warmest welcome to Dr. Geetha Raju and to all the participants. Thank you.
Okay. Greetings and good evening to one and all. On behalf of the organizing units IEEE Computer Society, CSI, ACM, and Hindustan Chamber of Commerce, let me once again welcome the speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Geetha Raju, members and my colleagues from the organizing units. Participants joined the Google Meet through the link, as well as the participants watching the webinar through YouTube streaming. With the rapid developments in artificial intelligence, in particular generative AI, there has been growing concern all over the world on the ethical and bias aspects of AI, and there is an universal demand for responsible, trustworthy, and explainable AI. All tech majors involved in AI development are seized of the need and framing their own guidelines in this regard. UNESCO, an international body, has taken a lead in coming out with recommendations on AI ethics. Today's presentation will broadly cover the recommendations of UNESCO on ethics, fairness in treating the people uniformly, various AI fairness assessment models, and the role of AI principles in shaping the policies. Now, let me formally introduce the speaker, Dr. Geetha Raju. We got acquainted few months back when IEEE Computer Society organized the IEEE Computer Society Day at SSN College of Engineering on the theme Responsible AI. She was to join as a resource person at that event. Unfortunately, because of her work commitment, she couldn't make it. However, for her request, she had consented to deliver a webinar at a later date, and this is happening today. We are able to get her today to address on the important topic AI ethics and fairness. Dr. Geetha Raju currently serves as the Senior AI Consultant at PricewaterhouseCoopers Private Limited. Her specialization includes ethical and responsible AI, natural language processing, and generative AI. Dr. Geetha's expertise lies in AI, ML, NLP models, particularly in predicting social media user privacy over personal information disclosed, for which she earned her PhD in Information and Communication Engineering from Anna University, Chennai. Dr. Geetha holds an enviable publication record of thought leadership and research articles. She has been recognized by Anna University for her exemplary research and publications in Q1 journals. Additionally, Dr. Geetha Raju has the honor of having been featured by India AI, an AI advocacy initiative of Government of India, in the Expert Talk series. Dr. Geetha is passionate AI consultant and researcher with a deep-rooted passion for leveraging technology for societal good. She specializes in developing cutting-edge AI solutions for governments G2G and G2C, that is, the government to government and government to citizen applications, specifically for Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh. She has developed AI solutions for data-driven, citizen-centric public service discovery and delivery based on the bilingual data of Tamil Nadu and associated with the AI-based cataract detection applications for Uttar Pradesh. In addition to her technical pursuits, Dr. Geetha expanded her wings as a skilled journalist and storyteller. Recently, her book, Drug Awareness among school children, was launched by the DGP of Chennai during a drive against drug campaign. With this brief note on the theme and the introduction of the speaker, let me invite Dr. Geetha to enlighten our participants on AI ethics and AI fairness assessment frameworks. Over to Dr. Geetha, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for the detailed introduction, sir. I'll right away share my screen so that we'll start. I hope my screen is visible to you all.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm really glad to have been as a speaker here for this session. And as you mentioned, I was literally regretting for the opportunity that I lost as an in-person speaker. But thanks for considering me here as an online expert. So let's go on with this session. So for the today's agenda, I'll just brief about how AI and society is interrelated and interconnected, followed by which the UNESCO has recommended certain key principles on AI ethics, and how UNESCO is trying to enforce ethical implications and ethical frameworks for developing and deploying the AI solutions. Followed by which I will just focus upon one single principle called AI fairness, which is the most important thing in this society and in terms of the product that is being built. And so we talk about AI fairness and its significance, followed by which we will go on in a detailed manner of assessing how the AI fairness in the models can be analyzed. And this assessment models has so many different range of applications and origins. Say we deal with different fairness assessment tools, frameworks, and models from different industry leaders like Microsoft, Google, and few other individual experts. Followed by which I will just brief out about how AI principles, especially fairness and all, can be applied in terms of policy making, especially into AI policy making or tech policy making. And yeah, so this is the bird's eye view, or this a common meme which is circulating in this era, like how people talk about AI and the people who are actually implementing AI. As you see, there are so many people who are ready to talk about AI, but the effort that is taken by people to just implement the ethical values and principles in AI is very less. And there is another meme also, like, who loves AI? Everyone loves AI. Everyone wants to incorporate AI in their industry as well as at their workplace, as well as in their research or in the day-to-day life. But how many people are willing to accept the risk that is implied in terms of AI decisions, and how many people are trying to incorporate the ethical guidelines that is being enforced by various policymakers and regulators? There is the varied proportion which says 100:0. So the main concern here is that it is not the lack of AI experts, which the industry is believing that there are no AI experts, but the main concern is that the lack of real thinkers in terms of the risk, the impact, and the severity of the inappropriate or unintended decisions delivered by the AI systems. So to deal with it, we have to follow certain recommendations by all the policymakers. But now we are going to focus only about the recommendations published by UNESCO on AI ethics. So they have 5 objectives defined in their recommendations. So first one would be about defining a universal framework for values, principles, and actions which can be applied across the globe. So there might be different laws in different regions. Say Northeast would have a different law, Global South would have a different law. But in terms of having a universal framework ensures that no human or no entity is being treated partially or is not being included in the AI system or the ecosystem in which you have technology products. So the objective would be to formulate regulations, policies, and legislations which will ensure that human values, principles, and actions are taken into consideration. Followed by which they are intended to guide actions of individuals, groups, communities, and the industry, where they will actually define certain actions which has to be taken by individuals when they are using an AI system, for the group of people who are using an AI system, for the industry or for the companies which is trying to incorporate or integrate AI system into their existing framework. So in terms of this, they will ensure that all the AI principles are being implied or being incorporated in terms of every AI development life cycle, AI system development life cycle, in terms of right from the requirement gathering, feasibility analysis, and then coming up with the data collection. So data collection is the most important phase of AI, building an AI system. So here, identifying the ethical principles and different values, human values in terms of data is the most important thing. So UNESCO recommends it, like identifying the role of all the individuals in terms of the AI life cycle. Then followed by it, UNESCO also recommends the multi-stakeholder and multidisciplinary dialogue to be inclusive in while developing an AI system. So this is important because multi-stakeholder, in the sense, there is a general conception of a perspective that AI system development will only include tech people, which is false. So when you're going to develop an AI system, you need multi-stakeholder collaboration, like or multidisciplinary people getting into one point and assessing the impact of AI system, the functionality of AI system, and the values that is being created by the AI system. So we not only need AI engineers or data scientists, but also we need social scientists, we need ethicists, we need psychologists who can assess the impact of the AI generated content or decisions, and also the domain experts, the lawyers who can advocate the use of AI system and advocate the impact of AI systems or impact of AI generated decisions. So addressing all these ethical issues will require multi-stakeholder collaboration while building the AI system. Followed by which the UNESCO is trying to promote equitable access to development of AI systems as well as diverse knowledge sharing of the AI systems. So when someone is using an AI system, they should be digitally aware. They should not have a digital divide. There should not be no gender divide, and they should be aware of how the AI decisions is generated. So for this, we need to ensure that people are able to access the AI systems in right form, and also they are able to mitigate the risk that is created in terms of AI systems. So promoting equal access to different people, to diverse communities in terms of the AI system. So there is one simple example where you can have AI enabled classrooms for all the students, like kindergarten students who live in different regional areas, where for AI enabled classrooms for a school which is being constructed or which is located in a hill station, where the portability or the transport there are transport issues while the teacher is not able to go, or there are no proper teaching facilities, or certain things like that will have an impact on the education of the system, by which a student will not be able to have proper education. But AI enabled classrooms should be accessible for them to continue the learning process, but in terms of equal and social values that has been incorporated in terms of the cultural diversity and inclusivity. And the final one is that you have to protect and promote and respect human rights and fundamental freedom, which is more important in terms of AI systems. So protecting human rights in the sense, as I said, the student from a different background or different socioeconomic background should not be denied his fundamental right of education, fundamental right of information access. So there are so many different varieties or different categories of human rights. So everything should be incorporated while you are developing an AI system. So on the whole, UNESCO recommends the incorporation of human values, human rights, the fundamental rights of a stable living, good health, mental health, and safety for human life. Everything should be incorporated by design, by development, by deployment, and by the responsible use which covers the whole of your AI life cycle. So this is the recommendation to which we are going to focus into deep dive into the different values of AI systems. So with all the objectives, the values or the outcomes of these recommendations would be these 4 categories. So the first one is to ensure that the AI system outcomes is able to protect, promote, and respect the human rights, dignity, and everything. And followed by which the ecosystem and environment is flourishing. So the impact of AI systems is more diverse in terms of positive impact as well as in negative impact. Positive impact is that you will have more productivity, you can finish a job, you can achieve certain goals in a shorter time, and you can solve a complex problem. Yes, everything is perfect. But in terms of the negative impacts, there is so much of climate change, carbon emissions that is happening, and there's so much of heat generated because of running an AI systems, and the risk of AI system is also more growing, and where the environment and ecosystem flourishing should be taken care in terms of finding the right way of using an AI system. So if I am actually having, suppose if we have a say for generative AI, you have a foundational model, and if you want to create a new foundational model, first we have to assess the suitability of existing foundational models, the risk involved in using the existing foundational models, and not just directly go into the development of foundational model without assessing it, which will actually reduce the impact of the environmental impacts of AI system, developing an AI system. And followed by which the diversity and inclusiveness is the most important thing, as there is a statistics which says that number of women who have access to mobile phones, internet, or the digital environment or the ecosystem is very less when compared to the men. So in inclusivity in terms of gender, in terms of race, in terms of nationality, in terms of different aspects like socio-economic aspects should be ensured, so that any AI system that is developed is accessible and is suitable for all the people in this world. Say I have some targeted community to which I am developing an AI system, so I should make sure it treats all the people in that community equally. So this is what comes under the diversity and inclusiveness. And then moving on to the final value, which is the most important value in terms of society as well as in terms of AI governance, where we have to ensure that AI system is not imposing any interconnectedness in the society, and it is promoting peace and justice, right? So followed by so based upon these objectives and the values that UNESCO recommends, UNESCO has also defined 10 principles in which we have all these things. So first thing is like, you do not create any harm on deploying an AI system. So the AI system should be, the outcomes of the AI system should be evaluated in terms of unintended consequences, as well as it is treating everyone with equality. And there are certain other important principles like right to privacy and data protection. So AI system is basically built upon the existing data of humans or different entities. So it also involves certain sensitive data, private data, which has to be kept private according to different policies and regulations across the globe, especially about European Union's GDPR, US NIST, and India has recently published an Act on Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which says protect your personal data, use it only for certain purpose, and have consent, get consent from the individuals when you are using certain data. So all these things will have impact on the ethical perspective. So all these impacts should or will affect the human life in a personal way or in a professional way, or it can create harm in their financial background, or as well as in their rights of their fundamental rights. So one thing you can actually enforce while using an AI system is that you can actually quote that this AI generated this content is being generated by AI, and if required, you can have an human oversight on it to ensure that the decisions are rightly taken. So this is one of the important factor where you bring human in the loop concept, where you ensure that the AI generated decisions do not cause any bad impacts or negative impacts in terms of human life, and also make sure that the model is being monitored appropriately. And to monitor or to evaluate the AI generated decisions or content, actually you need to have some transparency and explainability on the AI generated content. So building a AI system or a model which is actually transparent about the different ways in which it arrived, different stages in which it has arrived to a particular decision, is more important to have a visual explanation of all these data transformations which has resulted in a certain decision, and this will help different stakeholders to have a clear idea about why this decision is made and why should I not trust this decision and how can I change the model to make the right decision. So all these concepts will together build a safe and trustworthy AI system for this society. So with all these principles, what is important to analyze? So we now talk about fairness. So why is it very much important to have fair systems in AI domain? So UNESCO has recommended that all AI actors should make reasonable efforts to minimize and avoid reinforcing or discriminatory or biased applications or outcomes throughout the life cycle of AI system to ensure fairness of AI systems. So it says that all the AI actors in the sense the one who is producing the AI system, the owner of the AI system, the one who is developing the AI system, and the one who is using the AI system, and the one who is getting insights or providing services based on the decisions made by the AI system are all together collated as your AI actors. So all the actors should be responsible for the outcomes of the AI systems and should ensure fairness. So why is fairness creating so much issues? So recently we have seen certain articles which has created greater concern across people who are going to use the AI systems in their workplace or in their process, in their official processes. So one important or highlighting factor is that Amazon has used an AI algorithm for recruiting people, and that has biasness towards men and has not included women in their recruiting process. Similarly, Supreme Court has also said you should not use ChatGPTs for making precedents or having references for your arguments. And similarly, there was another case where the AI algorithm has identified a person called Robert as a victim, and he has been arrested, which is because the algorithm was racist in nature. And there are so many other cases where AI unfairness has created a very bad impact on humans' life. So how is fairness so significant, and how is fairness being enforced in terms of the AI people or the AI policymakers? So GPI, which is the Global Partnership of Artificial Intelligence, which has recently launched an AI framework for fair work, where it has assessed certain parameters like fair pay, contract management, fair conditions to work, and fair representation in the workplace. And based on all these factors, they have derived 10 fair work principles when incorporating AI in their system, and that can be applied to all other work environments, not only with AI. But here, the fair representation is what we have to consider on the whole, where we are going to ensure that all the non-discriminative laws are applied when you are building an AI systems. So the AI system or the data that is used for the AI system should be non-discriminative in terms of race, skin color, national origin, your gender, the type of disability you have, the religion you belong to, or the age factor of yours. So with all these things, the Global Partnership of AI is now recommending the whole of the AI ecosystem workers to actually implement and ensure that your AI algorithm is non-discriminative against any kind of human background or the socio-economic backgrounds which we have described here. And with all these aspects, how are we going to analyze or predict what is given in your data? So for that, we have to go with the different fairness assessment models to see how these fair representations or the fair outcomes is being generated by the AI systems. So here we talk about, this is also a report by UNESCO which says the LLMs are biased against women and girls when compared to boys and men. So they have done certain analysis on the open source large language models, and they have come up with a report on systematic residues. And they have identified the sources of bias in the AI systems to be under three categories, where they talk about the data bias that is existing while building or training the AI model. And next comes the algorithmic bias, which says how the algorithm is trying to capture the important features or important representations of for women versus men. And later they see how the deployment related bias, say who is using and to what environment they are actually trying to deploy it, so that the system is trying to cope up with the requirements. Finally, with all these definitions, all these categorizations, they have detected and characterized the social bias in LLMs into three different case studies, where there were bias in word associations between the career and the gender. So in terms of career and gender, certain words like homemaker, nurse, and all were related to girls or women, while doctors, engineers were related to men. So this is a kind of bias, as if women are not into engineering field also. And later, the other part of the case study also discovered that there is discrimination in AI generated text from a gender perspective. So when you ask certain prompts towards the large language model, it is discriminating in terms of the response. So this is also a kind of bias which could have a severe impact when it is used for a personalized service. And later, the other part of the case study was like there were repetitiveness of generated text in terms of different culture and gender context. Since the LLM is built on the open source data which is available on internet, the coverage or the inclusiveness of different cultural aspects around the world is not actually possible, and it is usually based on the Western data. So when people from different region try to prompt and get certain response from the LLMs, it was not able to serve the cultural need of diverse population. And followed by which, if these social bias are not addressed in the upcoming days, it could actually cause certain risk and harms to the society, where there might be a different partition or social cohesion which will actually affect the peace in the society, and then it can actually cause gender-based violence in certain times. So there may be hate speeches against women or men. There can be offensive content creation against a particular community or a certain group, and actually you will be able to separate a certain vulnerable people or underrepresented people away from the whole of the ecosystem and say they are not suitable for certain services or schemes or whatever. So, which is actually not the form of or the need of this society, or which does not meet the purpose of having an AI system. So UNESCO has identified all these risks in terms of generative AI. And this is one of the sample that they presented. So here you can see the diversity and stereotyping by Llama 2, where you have the different categories like man, boy, women, and girl. And you can see different words which define men and define women. So women, as you can see in man's word cloud, you will never find a word related to women unless it is wife. But here you can see so much of women related things in terms of, so career here has a very small representation, while husband has a very big representation. Like the impact or the association of women with husband is very big. And when it comes to the boy and girl difference, you can actually see boy is you have something like adventure. So similarly, girl has something for village. So this parity or disparity is going to have a greater impact when it is being actually impacting the real life situations. Similarly, this is for the global context, and when it is against the global north or south women or boy or girl and men, here you can see a difference. So this difference should not happen because of just because of the training data, but also because of the different type of people who are interacting in the system. So to have these unbiasedness and stereotyping behavior of the any AI model, not only LLMs, we have to make sure that we are incorporating fairness by design, by development, by deployment, and by feedbacks, by monitoring or improving it by feedbacks. And this is the Fair Minds framework, which is being developed by an independent researcher. And here you talk about, he has defined certain ethical reflections which have to be critically thought while developing and deploying an AI system. So he has defined certain objectives for AI system like fairness, justice, equality, respect to autonomy and privacy. And from all these objectives, you come up with a fair goal set where you talk about demographic fairness, procedural fairness, in which how you are going to incorporate fairness in terms of data, modeling and all. And outcome fairness is that you are evaluating the outcomes in terms of individual groups or communities and all. So it should be treating everyone with equality and non-discriminative aspects. And then quantifiable fairness is that how valuable is it, and how much people it is creating a good impact. And followed by the risk and impact, which says to who all is the AI generated outcomes creating risk, like the direct stakeholders or the direct users of the AI system, and the people who are directly involved by the decisions of the AI systems, and the marginalized group who are away from the use of AI systems. So they don't have access to the AI system, but the AI system is creating certain impacts on the marginalized groups or underserved groups. And followed by which you have to, so this is a sequence where you have to this is a simple risk assessment framework which he has transformed. So initially you have certain objectives of the system, then you have certain goals to which you have to meet the objectives. So you define certain tasks or activities to reach towards that goal, which is your AI modeling. And that AI modeling or the AI models which you develop should undergo the risk assessment frameworks, which involves risk analysis. And based on the risk that has been identified, you have to do some impact assessments. And based on the impact assessments, in terms of to how much people it has been affecting, and to on what rate it is affecting. So is it okay if I can take this risk later, or is it okay if I can address this risk later so that it is not impacting the greater community, or what is the financial value that it is taking out of my plan. So all these impact assessments should be mapped to certain mitigation measures, the risk mitigation measures, like how am I going to overcome all these negative impacts and the risk involved in the system. So in terms of impact assessments, you are going to consider positive impacts, negative impacts, and the mitigation strategies. And to specifically measure how the fairness part or the fairness value principle is being giving impact on the AI decisions. You have to have certain system or designing principles where you are able to detect and mitigate bias in terms of your data set, in terms of your algorithm, and how can I identify whether my algorithm or the model that I have developed is fair enough across different people, so that I will be able to give a transparent decisions towards the end users or to whoever the direct or indirect stakeholders. And finally, it is about the governing mechanisms. So governing mechanisms is that who would be responsible for the AI generated, the unfair AI generated outcomes. How am I going to mitigate it? How am I going to handle or correct it in terms of real time? So all these things come under the governing mechanisms. And to finally to do all these analysis and see my system is safe and trustworthy to get it deployed for public use, I have to continuously keep on testing it, validating it, and improve it according to the incoming data that is being derived in terms of your day-to-day usage. And here you have to do certain testings like quantitative methods of all these goals, different types of data that you have, and also you should try to improve it in terms of your testing results as well as the feedback received by different stakeholders. So here actually with the LLMs you have the reinforcement based learning and all. So this will actually give you an overview about how the risk in terms of fairness is assessed and then mitigated and then kept in loop to ensure a safe and trustworthy systems to be deployed for public use. So with all these concepts, I now deep dive into the standards for fairness assessment, which is being published by Telecommunication Engineering Center of India. So they are focusing on three different important factors. One is the standard adoption of standards and how are we going to adopt those standards, and followed by the essential requirements for meeting these standards or for the requirements for developing an AI system. And finally, how are they framing or how are they defining the supporting mechanisms for all the technical issues that is arising in terms of fairness. So they have defined certain assessment methods where they say about the protected attribute selection. So this is a new term, right? The protected attribute selection. What do we call the protected attribute selection? So protected attributes are certain features which will refer to an individual's personal identity. So for example, if I say this person is working in this company, that is his identity. This person is from certain location, say Bangalore, he is from that shows his demographic or the location based identity. If some person is saying this is my Aadhaar number, then that is his unique identity, the personal identity, which are all the sensitive information. So protected attributes has to be kept undisclosed so that it is not being used or it does not create any impact in terms of AI generated decisions. So identifying certain protected attributes in the whole of your data set is a crucial task. Suppose, for example, if a woman is pregnant and she is working for an organization, that pregnancy is a protected attribute when you give her a workload. But pregnancy should not be a protected attribute when she is being applying for a new job. So defining protected attributes in terms of application, in terms of ethical values and morals is more important, and identifying all these protected attributes will be a crucial part and will play a vital role in defining or in developing a fair AI system. And identifying privileged or unprivileged group selection. So this one is similar to the attribute, but in attribute will refer to one single individual, but the group selection will define the community-based or the group-wise representation. And identification of favorable able to identify whether the AI generated output is right or not, or whether it is fair or unfair, or whether it is meeting my goals. And all these assessment methods will have certain processes which you can go in detail with the standards that they have defined. And with all these assessment methods, you will be able to you will be able to compute certain metrics from your data. So group fairness metrics for classification will give you certain algorithms or certain process to identify fairness metrics between different groups who are involved in using the AI system. Similarly for individuals, and counterfactual fairness will actually define the uniqueness or the rightness of your AI generated outcomes in terms of individual and in terms of the whole society. And multi-group fairness metrics for matching and ranking is a most important thing, where it can be applied for large-scale user systems like your recommendation systems for e-commerce applications, or clinical decision support systems, where you have to deal with different people and help the hospital management to take some decisions in terms of providing an appointments and all. So all these fairness metrics defined can be applied on your data to ensure that your system or the AI model is behaving fairly between different people. Followed by, we have this IBM AI Fairness 360 toolkit, which is an open source toolkit, which has 77 fairness metrics to measure bias. And this is the one of the most unique and renowned work of IBM, which has AI fact sheet, which also has questions related to how you can ensure biasness or fairness in your data that you have used for training and all. And so, as you can see, they have 3 different goals. First one is to promote fairness in research algorithms, and also to enable a common platform for researchers and industry practitioners to share their benchmarked algorithms and processes. And next one is to identify and define certain fairness metrics and mitigation techniques which can be used by different AI developers, AI enthusiasts and all. And finally, with all these collaborations between different researchers and industries, they have come up with bias mitigation algorithms at different stages. So first one is pre-processing algorithms, in-processing algorithms, which will mitigate the bias in the model, and post-processing algorithms, which will actually work on the outcome of your AI model. So applying all these algorithms will help you monitor and validate the AI models that you generate is fair enough to all the group or people or to the stakeholders. And followed by the Google fairness metrics for evaluating the AI model. So here we have, this is for the Vertex AI. So with Vertex AI, this is a cloud-based tool and framework where you can upload your data and monitor, or you can analyze data related metrics in terms of the representations and the proportions of the rightly predicted outcomes. And in terms of model bias metrics, you have different types of metrics, like the difference in accuracy and also the specificity difference, which will actually give you a right stance for taking a decision in terms of whether you want to retrain your model, or whether you want to change the data that you are actually using for training, or whether you have to create some new data and ensure that it is having a fair representation of different people or the protected attributes as well. So this will actually help in also identifying whether I am actually considering the right attributes as protected attributes, the right features as the protected attributes. So Google, I think anyone can with a Google account can be able to access Vertex AI and try all these algorithms metrics for identifying bias in your AI data and model. And then followed by the Microsoft's Fairlearn. So this is also an open source initiative which has two different objectives. First one is prioritizing fairness in the AI systems is actually a socio-technical challenge, and they are trying to address it. And the next one is to navigate the trade-off that is existing between the fairness and the model performance. Suppose if I am ensuring fairness, the model might not perform well, and which is actually a bad, which will actually create a bad impact on your AI system. So with that, with all these understandings, they have come up with an interactive visualization dashboard, which will have a analysis of what your data is all about. So there you can actually go and upload your data and do certain analysis in terms of socio-technical context, from which demography the people are, from which region, under which age, under which gender and all. So there you can have a visual representation of the fair distribution of different data instances that you are using. And followed by which the need of this interactive visualization dashboard is really an invaluable thing in terms of analysis, because certain unobservable theoretical principles or theoretical features will be visually understood rather than doing some statistical analysis. And how am I going to construct the reliability and validate the model is that you can actually have a transparency or visual transparency outcomes from the AI model or in terms of your data analytics. And this visualization dashboard is the first component of this Fairlearn toolkit. And with the model, we also have the unfairness mitigation algorithms, which is developed as a sector agnostic or application agnostic mode, which anyone can use it to analyze based on their requirement. Suppose if you are working on a classification problem, you have a mitigation algorithm which can actually address the classification issues that is created due to biased data. Similarly for regression, and similarly for a tree model. So you have different sets of algorithm which will suit to your need and also address the fairness issue. And they have also defined certain fairness metrics under which you can identify the impact of it. And also this toolkit will allow you to create custom fairness metrics, which is enabling you to assess fairness in terms of your own requirement. So this is one of the most interesting toolkit and an environment where you can go and experiment with your data. And next, coming on to Metas. Meta has created certain benchmarks for evaluating fairness in computer vision models. So this is a research paper basically, and this framework or benchmark will act as a basis for how you are going to annotate your image data or any vision data. So here in this sample, you can see an image of a guitarist is being displayed, and the annotator is asked to annotate in terms of different categories. So as I earlier mentioned, there is different categories in which bias is propagating towards this into the AI systems. First one is race, skin tone, gender, age, all other representations. But here you have the perceived skin tone, perceived age, photo is underexposed, the type of photo that is being represented, and also the gender representation, hair color, hair type, and additional information like whether he has a tattoo, he has facial hairs and all. And all these things will actually be useful when you are going to create an image or when you're going to generate certain images with your cultural values. Suppose if you say a house in US and a house in India, have you ever tried certain prompts in the generative AI models and see what are all the outcomes? So those outcomes will tell you, will show you a neat and clean house in US and a hut in India. That doesn't mean India only has huts and tents, but the data in which you have trained and the type of parameters or the features which the algorithm has captured is reflected in the outcomes. So Meta is trying to enforce all these parameters and features into the algorithm so that it is making enough considerations for creating a diverse output, which is also inclusive of all the cultural and social aspects. And so Facet is also having a crowdsourcing worksheet which anyone can follow when they are trying to develop an AI model in terms of computer vision, or this can be actually applied to all data sets, subject to changing the feature or the fact that you're going to annotate. So first one is about the task formulation, which will say what are the aspects that you want to address, and then about the assumptions of the annotators, like who will be annotating it, what would be their knowledge and what would be their expertise and all, and then description of the task. So how am I going to describe what to annotate? So do I want to annotate the guitar, or do I want to annotate the position of the guitar? Do I want to annotate the color of the guitar? What is it? And then coming up with the instruction to the annotator. So how am I going to instruct the annotators? Do I have to give them a stepwise process? So when analyzing what are all the important process or the stepwise thought process that the annotator should have, so that my algorithm or my purpose is meeting the annotations output. And then coming up to the selection of annotators. So selection of annotators is the most important thing. Like annotators should be the expert and expert in terms of what they are going to work on, and also they should have the knowledge about why am I doing this. So they should know the purpose, they should know the harms of a wrongly annotated data by them, and also they should be aware of the cultural values in which they are going to work on, like the socio-demographic characteristics of the annotators should be matching with the data that they are working. Suppose if I am asking an Australian to annotate an Indian data, which is more of the localized factors of, say, a village in India, he would have no idea about what it is all about. He would not know what is the type of utensil that they are using, what is the purpose of it. So when we are trying to give certain data to a totally different person to annotate, then that is going to create risk and harms, and you are going to waste all your time and money on this annotation process, which is of no value to your model. And following by that, you have platform and infrastructure choices, which will actually define the features of your annotation platform. Suppose if the annotation platform that I am going to use does not have a feature where the annotator can explain why he has annotated this guitar in terms of certain perspective, then we need certain explanations for our model to analyze. And if that platform is not having that particular feature of writing a comment by the annotator, then it is not a suitable choice to use that platform. So it is more important to have a platform or a tool which is more flexible towards creating your annotation process. And followed by which the channel of communication with annotators. So initially the annotation process has multiple stages. So initially the annotator will have will be given a particular set of data, say a sample set of data, and then we will assess the relevance and expertise of the annotator, and then we will share certain feedbacks for them to work out, and later based on the improvisations that they do, we will actually give them the whole set of data. So how is this communication planned to happen is one of the greatest question. And how am I going to pay the annotators? So am I going to pay it on one go? Am I going to pay it on multiple goes? On what category? Say on what performance rating? So suppose if 10,000 instances are annotated by an annotator, how am I going to pay it? Will I be validating all the 10,000 instances and then paying it, or is it by partitioning certain payments and all? So identifying all these choices of payment, the platforms, then you will be able to create an impactful, fair data for it, for your model. And then dataset analysis and evaluation will actually give you more insights on the quality of data set that is being generated out of this annotation process, and how are you going to do the disagreement or communicate the disagreement of annotation which the annotator has submitted to you. And how am I going to represent the individual annotator's response on a public data set or a public forum? So am I going to disclose who has annotated it, or on what basis should I disclose that I have performed annotation for a particular instance from n number of annotators? So this will actually give the model developers and the stakeholders a greater confidence on using the data and having the right database. And then finally, you come up with the dataset release, where you have to overthink, or you have to foresee certain challenges which could arise in future, where suppose if my data has certain characteristics of data drifting or model drifting, then how am I going to update the existing annotations? Or the requirement of the system changes, but the base data remains the same. I have to work on a different purpose of the data. How am I going to change the annotations, and how will the change impact the existing system, and how am I going to track and limit the use of my existing annotated data so that it is not being misused by any one of the other developers and all. So Meta has given all these worksheets to which any individual or researcher or any industry can follow to have a safe and trustworthy system to build upon. And EU's Digital Fairness for Consumers is one of the most recent initiative which started in 2021, I guess. So they have defined a new customer agenda on analyzing the actions needed to ensure the equal level of fairness in online and offline consumers. So this is for the digital AI systems, which AI systems in terms of e-commerce or any of the process, where AI is the most important factor, which has a transformational power in migrating the existing retail systems towards an AI-enabled e-commerce platforms. So here they are trying to incorporate certain rules, terms and regulations across different laws that is already existing into the consumer law, so that the AI-enabled services or e-commerce applications will not impact their consumers in a negative way. So this is under development, and EU has received certain responses from multiple nations, and they are trying to work on it. So these are all the policies and frameworks that is under construction by different people, different policies and agencies. And finally, with all these frameworks, UNESCO has also recommended areas of policy actions in terms of AI ethics. So understanding all these impacts and outcomes from your AI model in terms of fairness and other critical aspects, UNESCO is trying to encourage or foster the policy agencies and governments to focus on different policy actions. So initially, UNESCO says that the governments and the policy agencies should assess the ethical impact and then incorporate policies or create policies so that the AI systems is not giving any negative impacts in terms of data privacy and protection, in terms of your environment and ecosystems. And environment and ecosystems is just to monitor the use of AI resources and reducing the carbon emissions, reducing your climate impacts due to the different climate changes that is happening across the globe, and how you can regulate use of AI in education and research is one of the greatest topic to debate, as the generative AI system has now created so much of transformative power and ease of writing, ease of researching. It has created so much effortless works in seconds, which people took so much of time to create. And then comes the stewardships and governance of AI ethical values, where people try to correlate and communicate, collaborate with different experts in the industry, identify the best practices, the governance frameworks, and then incorporate it in their individual organizations. And then development and international cooperation is all about the competitiveness of AI systems. Suppose if I am going to develop a new foundation model for India, and how is it going to affect different nations? How am I going to control the usage of all these models that is being developed from Indian data? How am I going to handle the misuse of it? And for gender, as we said, it should be gender inclusive and also meet the diverse cultural needs of different people. And all these AI systems is having the most important challenge of creating misinformation and disinformation. With the advent of generative AI, and it has hyped to a greater level where people are actually trying to create content which is not verified, and without verifying it, they tend to share it between different people, different social medias, and communication and information is one of the greatest pillar in which policy making can be done in terms of identifying whether the information generated is factual, is right in terms of all your true information that is present on the documents, on the internet, everything. And there are ways in which AI can generate misinformation, but also it can control misinformation. So identifying right ways and right systems to control the communication channels and the information dissemination is one of the important factor in policy making. And as we already spoke about the fair work principles, policy making in terms of AI with the labor and economy is also the critical factor which government and the policymakers should address. And this final factor of health and social well-being is one of the most challenging part that any AI developer or any organization which is going to adopt the AI system should take care of. So, because recently you would have seen certain news which is out about youngsters using AI chatbots for personal life or as their partner. So this is one of the critical factor to be addressed, because you cannot replace humans, you cannot replace emotions, but this should not actually give a negative impact on people's mental health. And also when certain things like it is being used in healthcare systems, autonomous AI systems used for operations, surgeries and all, that should not actually affect the life of the humans. So all these policy making aspects should be taken care, which is recommended by UNESCO. And with all these focus pillars or focus areas, what is happening around us, like what is happening in different sectors by different nations. Like, this is the overview of what is going around in regulating or regulating the ethical use of it. So in healthcare, ICMR has released an ethical guideline for applications of AI systems in medical, biomedical research and healthcare. And here they have defined ethical principles for medical AI, where they tend to say that you have you have software as a medical device. So software as a medical device is something similar to your software as a service, platform as a service like SaaS PaaS. They are addressing AI-enabled medical devices, AI-enabled softwares with medical impacts or medical solutions as softwares as medical devices. So under this, they are creating certain principles for development, validation, and deployment of the AI models in healthcare, and followed by which they are trying to review certain AI-based healthcare protocols and apply it across different purpose in healthcare sector. And what is the most important factor in healthcare is that it is one of the most sensitive information, and while using those sensitive information for training an AI model is most critical, and they are ensuring that the consent from the respective individual is sought before using the model for training. And later, they have come up with the governance of AI in healthcare. So in India, they have certain acts and legislations published in terms of Digital Information Security in Healthcare Act, which is DISHA. And it emphasizes on the data that is to be protected in the healthcare sector. And the National Digital Health Authority for leveraging digital health technologies. So this one is under the National Health Program or Act, which emphasizes how to use digital health for the betterment of people in India, which also includes the AI-based healthcare systems. And followed by the law and justice, which is now the most important factor where there are many newses around. And as a first initiative of the New Zealand has come up with a regulation or a guideline sort of thing for all the courts and tribunals for the use of generative AI technologies in their day-to-day workplace. And so the document actually gives a consolidated view of understanding Gen AI and its limitations in ethical issues, and how can the personal data and all the sensitive data that is already present in your data, justice related data, or the petitions are maintained in terms of confidentiality and privacy. And how is the, just a minute. Sorry. So followed by it, how is the outcome of the AI generated systems are made accountable or and are ensured for accuracy. And finally, they are establishing guidelines for 3 different categories. One is for the judges, the tribunal members, and the supporting staffs of the courts. And the other is for lawyers. And the next one is for the non-lawyers. The non-lawyers is mostly the public, general public, where people who have no access to the policy-related information. This is one of the important use case where you can actually make law and justice accessible to different group of people, where they have no idea about what could be the benefit if I go to a court. But they would not know the actual scenario of what would happen, what is the process, and what would be the judgment. So actually AI systems can actually predict the judgment in terms of the historical data that all the tribunals already have, and this could give them a confidence whether to proceed with applying certain cases or. So law and justice is one of the critical factor, but everywhere AI systems, be it healthcare, be it education, be it law, be it finance, everywhere it should be a decision support system rather than being an autonomous system. So with law, I think New Zealand is one of the first government that has come up with certain guidelines for the ethical use of generative AI, followed by which you have the UNESCO's guidelines for using generative AI in education and research. So this is a very interesting document which talks about the strategies which can be used by institutions to facilitate the responsible and creative use of generative AI. Say, how can they implement it in terms of creating a AI-based tutor? How can they use it for paper validations and all? And then the most important factor UNESCO emphasizes is that it should be human-centric approach while you are incorporating or including your AI model into your workplace or into the education or research. Because any AI system or the AI model will actually take away the creativity of the students. And the students there is no requirement for the student to actually be so creative rather than doing a creative prompt. Okay, so when a student is asked to create an art out of it based on a topic, say global warming. So global warming can be created in a very different way by multiple students, but when it comes with the AI generated outcome, it will actually restrict the creativeness of the user or the student. So this factor of being human-centered is the most important thing in terms of education. And co-designing the use of Gen AI in different perspectives, like how can we enable the use of Gen AI for research, for teaching, for students and learners who are actually trying to learn an art rather than a normal skill or just reading a document and understand. And also project-based learning, which will assess the performance and the creativity and the logical thinking of the students, and also the learners with special needs. So people with special needs have a different challenge in understanding, and their expertise will not be as great as a normal student. So having Gen AI with all these personalized and the curated experience will actually give a positive impact if it is being regulated rightly. And the final thing is about the finance sector. So here, the Alan Turing Institute, which is the research institute about AI, they have created an open source initiative or project where they are trying to develop an actionable framework for safe and trustworthy deployment of AI in financial sector. Followed by which they are also developing digital sandbox for environments so that people who are developing certain AI models for financial sector, they can use it for testing and training, and also to validate their outcomes of out of the sandbox. And finally, they are also trying to come up with industry-wide standards and processes which will actually be so the industry-wide standards and processes can be applied across different applications of the AI models which are developed for the financial sector. So as we see, the industry is evolving. As we see, the industry is evolving in terms of the guidelines, the laws and all.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you just go on or shall we?
We'll go on. We'll go.
Because some more time are there to take up the questions also. So
Yes,
we
yes,
should-
fine.
Your throat is already started. Okay, no problem?
Yeah, we can go on.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So as we see, the industry is already evolving in terms of developing models, in terms of building guidelines, in terms of creating the legislations on top of whatever act that has been already existing. But still, the risk involved is not being reduced, and the risk assessments has to be formally enforced by all the developers and the stakeholders. And this is how we have to kickstart with ensuring the integration of AI ethical principles in developing and deploying an AI system. And I hope this session would have given a broad understanding about how you can use ethical values in terms of different AI life cycle stages, and also the significance of using AI principles, ethical values, and human values into the AI system. Yeah, I think now we can go on with the questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your very elaborated presentation. Ma'am, there are questions from the chat box. First, I'll start with the questions from the chat box, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Could you clarify on AI practice in hiring under AI ethics?
Hiring practices. So first, as we said, hiring practices should be gender non-discriminative and all, and also certain things like age factor and the nationality or educational institute. It should first look upon your skills, your experience, rather than looking from where you are, from which background you are and all. So applying all these skills, all these features or factors into your AI modeling will actually help you to have a fair recruitment process. So as we said, there are protected values or attributes in your when modeling your AI system, right? So at that phase, while identifying the protected attributes, you should ensure that all these factors, all these features are made protected values so that it is not impacting your recruitment process. So this is how you should ensure whether the AI system is fair or not in terms of your recruitment, HR, basically the HR domain.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any guidelines in India for usage of AI in education?
As of now, there is no guidelines formally presented by the government of India, but I think UNESCO's can be adopted across different nations because they are acting universally, and it is more fair enough to apply it across different people.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Next question, ma'am. How a consumer can validate the authenticity of AI system output?
Yeah, so it is not by the consumers. Consumer cannot directly evaluate or assess the outcomes, but there are certain ways in which the consumers can be made known of your AI generated outputs. The first thing is that disclosure of AI generated content. This is one of the most important risk management approaches, where with the AI generated content, you will actually this content is being generated by AI system, and it is up to you or up to the users to whether go on with the decision or to appeal for it, or whether to have a human consultation. So this is how we can ensure that it is an AI generated content and the people are not getting into unintended consequences. And there is one more approach in which you can also disclose the process in which the AI has come up with certain decisions, the different stages which has made the AI to take up certain decisions. This is up to the developer, or it is up to the product owner or the system owner to disclose all these things. Suppose if you are using it for public sector or for health related outcomes, it is necessary for the user to know under what conditions the AI has declared certain results. Suppose if I am using an healthcare system for assessing health AI chatbot for as a virtual healthcare assistant, I'm asking certain questions that I'm having a fever, I'm having a nausea, I'm having neck pain, body pain and all, and then it says certain this is because of certain issues. But this is the AI generated output. But the explanation or the traceability or transparency of this can be achieved by sharing on what basis is it relating my symptoms to the given disease. So certain explanations of that kind could help the user to understand whether the decision is right or wrong, and that would help the users to assess whether the system is creating the right outputs or not.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question. It is again on guidelines. Like, are there any guidelines or handbook stating these AI ethics given by UNESCO? If so, can you share it, ma'am?
Yeah, that is one handbook which UNESCO has published in 2022 also. I will share it to the team, and I think you can propagate it with everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We will share it while sharing the videos. Are there any tools implementing some aspects of this framework? So you have actually explained it with the tools and phase it. So it's a question.
So yeah, so Vertex AI is a tool, it's a cloud-enabled tool. You can use all those things. IBM 360 is a framework, and actually all these frameworks are available as a Python library, which you can install in your systems and you can try it out. And there are certain tools or frameworks which is available, like TECs is not a tool, which we discussed here. The framework assessment standards, TECs, is not a tool, but they have given certain algorithms and recommendations which can be applied in your data.
Thank you, ma'am. Few questions from the time of registration.
Mm-hmm.
How will AI help in ethical backgrounds?
So AI helping in ethical backgrounds is that you define the purpose of your AI system. Suppose if I am creating an AI system or an AI model for validating the for recruiting people from the talent pool, that is the model which is used for recruitment. And if I am creating an AI model for ensuring whether the AI recruitment model is actually doing a fair recruitment process, or is it actually following the fair recruitment process, then here this AI model will be applicable for having the ethical principles onboarding into the system. So the purpose is what defines the ethical use of your AI system or the AI model. So one thing is that you can create a purpose specific model and then apply on top of it with the AI ethical value based model generation, where you ensure or you create a model which emphasizes the AI principles. Suppose I would like to share a case study where we actually created a model which is identifying the right people with the right requirement. And to understand whether the model is actually performing the right meeting the right functionality or not, then we created another model which will evaluate the needs of the model. So here applying the ethical values is by the AI model, and we are not using any external tools for it. So without an external tool, if I want to evaluate all these ethical principles, that is also possible because you have the data that on which you want to train on, because that is created by your existing AI model. So this is where you can apply custom. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just go on. Ma'am, one last question. Do you think AI fairness in LLM can be achieved by changing language models like BERT to use ontologies and knowledge graphs on top of their training to present the model, and the user will with some level of reasoning?
Huh. So this graph-based network models are all about representing information in a association or correlation-based form. So this one can be used to evaluate your fair use or the ethical principles. Say, if I want to understand how my AI generated content is being given in terms of any LLMs. So that is now you are having something called retrieval augmentation based generation. So RAG applications are basically from your graph networks, and that is now that is now creating a greatest impact on LLMs, because LLMs is just the outcome of your foundational model where it generates outputs, but RAG will actually do the association, contextual relevance analysis, and then give you the analysis, give you the output. So in that terms, I'll make it very clear that the knowledge graph based networks will actually help you come up with the transparent models, so where you can actually assess the contextual relevance and the factual relevance of it.
Thank you for your extensive question and session, ma'am. Now, I request our chair, Komathy ma'am, to formally thank the gathering.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Akila. Good evening, all. On behalf of the organizing units IEEE CS Madras, CSI Chennai chapter, and ACM Chennai, myself, Dr. Komathy, chair of CSI Chennai, take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. I thank the organizing units jointly arranging this webinar on AI ethics and AI fairness assessment frameworks. We thank our eminent speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Geetha Raju, Senior AI Consultant AIML Government Tech, and Waterhouse PwC India, for spending her valuable time with us today to provide in-depth of the AI ethics and AI fairness assessment frameworks. She started with AI ethical issues and followed the UNESCO's recommendations for AI-generated contents, which mainly focused on human lives, reinforcing 10 principles such as do no harm to human life, safety, security, non-discrimination, data privacy, etc. She emphasized on AI fairness, which points towards non-discriminative law for AI applicable to human resources. She also described in detail the features of many of the AI fairness assessment model practiced by IBM, Google, Microsoft, FAIR model for AI in financial sector, FACET model by Meta, EU model for consumer fairness, etc. Also, she covered the significance of AI literacy and awareness, AI governance and collaboration. My heartfelt thanks goes again to Dr. Geetha Raju, who with her expertise responded to all the questions raised by the participants offline and online as well. I'm thankful to the participants who joined us in live Google Meet and YouTube's live streaming. I sincerely thank our mentor, Mr. H.R. Mohan, Chair Events IEEE CS Madras, who introduces notable domain experts to this webinar platform for the benefit of the members. I thank the office bearers of the organizing units who supported this webinar. I hope the session has given the participants a broad scope for policy making, how AI ethical principles and fairness will aid in shaping the policies on ethical governance, data policy, gender, culture, education and research, economy and labor, health and social well-being. With these warm words, we move to the end of today's event. Thank you all. Back to HR Mohan, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Geetha.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, because I was unable to come in person in Chennai, but we'll definitely look forward to
They're more than compensated.
Thank you, sir. I hope it was informative and
Very
Highly,
elaborate. Yeah.
highly elaborative. I mean, highly informative, I would say.
Very,
So much, I'm not able to pick up. So much is there to study because it's a
Yeah.
very vast area, I hope.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, particularly with so many companies, they started their own frameworks.
Yeah.
Each one is, now that hardware related people like NVIDIA and all, Intel have come out with their framework.
Yeah.
Particularly the hardware is becoming a very critical component in AI.
Mm-hmm.
So they have both. I just had a look at the Intel's framework on AI ethical things.
Okay.
So they're all mind-boggling. But anyhow, we have to wait and see. AI is for good or bad. It's only time will tell. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
ma'am.
much. Geetha.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Good night.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Any reference material or PowerPoint or something you want to share? You can
Yeah,
share
I'll
with us.
share it.
Yeah,
I'll
thank
share.
you, ma'am. Thank you.
So along with the video recording, you edit the video recording and then share some reference material.
Reference materials also to the participants.
Okay.
Presentation, some reference, additional reading. And all this. So the subject is fairly, I mean, not complex, but it is
Yeah, it's
perception oriented.
Yeah.
Each one, perceives in a different way, ethics and fairness and things like that. So unless, they compare it with some frameworks, it becomes difficult to get a overall picture. So that's the reason, some reference material also can be
Sure.
useful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you and good night, ma'am.
Have a great weekend.
Sorry, I got stuck in the middle, but
It all happens. It happens.
Thing, you are not a professional lecturer, no, like
yeah, I'm not a lecturer.
Dr. Komathy and I will speak for 3 hours.
3 hours.
So they're all used to that because of teaching as a profession. So they get used to that. Whereas consultants, they speak less, they hear more. So,
And with